You're watching HuffPost Live. I'm Ricky Camilleri. The CW's new period drama, Reign, about Mary, Queen of Scots. I'm sure it's totally factually accurate in every episode. Trimmed a female masturbation scene from the pilot episode. Many on the internets have begun asking, is masturbation more shocking for TV viewers than sex? Is it female masturbation we're being censored from? Is male or female masturbation more shocking? Who knows? Joining me to discuss, we have James Paniwazek, tuned-in columnist for Time Magazine, and Sophia Wallace, artist behind Clitoris Education. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
James, so tell me what happened here. The CW trimmed this scene. Tell me all about it.
So they didn't actually trim the scene out so much as they cut down the scene within the episode. Essentially, Reign, which, as you say, is a sort of teen drama based on the life of Mary, Queen of Scots, in which we learn that they listened to a great deal of the Lumineers in the 16th century France. It included a scene involving Mary and her retinue of teenage friends spying on a betting ceremony. In which, two royals are engaged and married, and people gather around to make sure that the marriage is consummated for various legal and regal reasons. They're all variously aroused by the spectacle, and one of them steals off to a stairwell where she, in the original pilot, begins pleasuring herself. The scene was cut down in the version that aired to, it was still present, but there was sort of the merest suggestion rather than, the more explicit hand movements that we saw in the original.
Mm-hmm. And so they just sort of trimmed it down a little bit. So, Sophia, you've been working on this project, Clitoris, for a long time, where I talked to you before, and I want to apologize publicly about what happened last time we had you on the air. But I talked to you before, and a lot of what you're trying to do is educate women about their clitoris, about their bodies, for sometimes the purpose of pleasuring themselves. Do you think that some of the reasons that women, in your opinion, aren't as educated as they should be, are because of instances like this? They're being censored in pop culture?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about depictions of sex, just try to find one where the clitoris is actually engaged to the same degree as the penis. I mean, it's almost impossible to find. So most women, even though 8,000 nerves are on the tip of their clitoris, they think it's actually abnormal or strange for the clitoris to actually be stimulated in sex. Mm-hmm. So it creates a complete state of confusion, and the visual language that we have, whether it's in pop culture, it's in art, even in pornography, sort of suggests that the clitoris is unimportant and that the vagina, meaning the opening, is actually the sexual organ.
Mm-hmm. James, I want to step back here for a second and address television again, because a lot of the opinions that came out of this story were that it was specific to cutting a woman masturbating on television, not showing a woman masturbate on television. And when I really racked my brain and tried to think of episodes of television with men masturbating, I could think of far fewer than of women, and there seems to be a bit of a weird double standard in terms of men or women pleasuring themselves on television. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know if the term I would use is double standard exactly, but it's definitely treated differently. When television broaches male masturbation, it's generally as a rule it's not treated as something arousing or steamy or whatever so much as comic. Maybe it's it's the guy who can't get any does in a story or whatnot. It's
the American Pie guy or something along those lines, right?
Like, yeah, I mean the idea of a guy masturbating is not treated as an object that a visual that is assumed is going to stimulate the viewer in the way that there was this reaction to the scene in Reign, which again weirdly, as I pointed out when I wrote about it, was immediately preceded by one sex scene and immediately followed by another. Yet the idea of a scene of the solo sex is somehow beyond the pale.
Well, I just wonder, I mean, Sophia, do you think that people are responding, or that the CW was responding to a woman masturbating or to just someone masturbating? Is masturbation, in your opinion, more shocking for audiences or for people than sex is?
I think it is, because I think that currently all non-reproductive sex, that is to say sex for pleasure, still is pathologized. I mean, look at the fact that birth control has been under fire and was being trying to be taken away as part of what the Republicans were doing recently with fighting Obamacare. Unless reproduction was taken away, they wanted to push back. So there's this idea that remains that sex for pleasure is taboo, is should not be talked about, and certainly sex that can never result in reproduction is problematic.
Mm-hmm. And now, James, these rules for a network like the CW are completely different for HBO, right? When we talk about people being shocked by masturbation on TV, HBO, Showtime, they show masturbation all the time, right?
They do, or certainly much more often. When I try to come up with recent examples of where it's been depicted in television, it's shows like Girls on HBO and Masters of Sex on Showtime, a news show which is very good and very interesting, because it is very much about the study of how sex works, and sex not just sort of as an object of titillation, but trying to figure out how sex is part of the human experience, and that involves, it's the story of the whole Masters and Johnson sex study, very much of which involved subjects masturbating with a giant see-through dildo that also housed a camera. Miraculous invention, but yeah, so there is in pay cable, which has different rules, much more attention to, and more willingness to treat sex as pleasure in a way that that it's certainly not on network television.
For sure. James, Sophia, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. We'll have you back for sure to keep talking about issues like this. And guys, there's a lot more great conversations coming up next, courtesy of Cadillac.